Hey, what's going on? This is your host from the channel. In this video, we're going to talk about the 10 differences between white and red muscle fibers. Alright, so before we get started, I just want to ask you guys for a really quick favor. If you're watching this video right now and you haven't already, go ahead and make sure to like and subscribe. It really helps support us, and it helps with the algorithm. It helps push more of our health and fitness videos out to more people. So watch until the end, and if you hit the bell, you'll be notified every time we upload a new video. But with that said, let's begin. So there's two different types of muscle fibers in our bodies. They're called slow twitch, or type 1 muscle fibers, and fast twitch, or type 2 muscle fibers. We all have both slow and fast twitch muscle fibers. However, some people have a higher percentage of one over the other. For example, someone who's been training for a marathon for many years will have a much higher percentage of slow twitch muscle fibers compared to someone who's been training for a powerlifting meet. Of course, we all have both types, but one will always be dominant over the other. The question is, what exactly is the difference between slow twitch and fast twitch muscle fibers? Well, here are 10 important differences that you need to know. Number 10, slow twitch muscle fibers contract more slowly than fast twitch muscle fibers. Now, as you would guess, the name of these muscle fibers kind of gives it away, right? Slow twitch fibers, they contract slowly, whereas fast twitch fibers, they contract quickly. The reason for this is because slow twitch fibers have a much greater capacity to utilize oxygen. They rely heavily on aerobic metabolism for energy production, whereas fast twitch fibers are much less efficient at utilizing oxygen, so they rely heavily on anaerobic metabolism. Number 9, the speed of contraction relates directly to the force output. So, since slow twitch muscle fibers contract more slowly, they can only produce a low amount of force. This is why they're sometimes referred to as low-force fibers. Fast twitch fibers, on the other hand, are capable of producing a much higher force output due to the fact that they contract rapidly. Number 8, red muscle fibers are resistant to fatigue, whereas white muscle fibers fatigue very easily. Now again, this relates directly back to the way each fiber produces energy. Slow twitch or type 1 muscle fibers utilize oxygen to break down glycogen into glucose. To produce ATP, this process is much more efficient, and it's able to sustain itself for longer periods of time. Anaerobic metabolism, or the way that fast twitch muscle fibers produce energy, on the other hand, is much less efficient. During heavy lifting or explosive sprinting, the body will use creatine phosphate and glucose to produce ATP. These energy sources are much smaller, and they're depleted much quicker. Number 7, red muscle fibers have a high concentration of myoglobin. Myoglobin is a protein that functions as an oxygen storage unit within the muscle cells. Slow twitch fibers have a lot of these, which allows them to utilize oxygen at a high rate. White muscle fibers have much lower concentrations of myoglobin, which contributes to their limited ability to use oxygen. Number 6, red muscle fibers are rich in mitochondria, whereas white muscle fibers have few mitochondria. Now, mitochondria are the powerhouse of the cell. They're responsible for the majority of ATP production during aerobic metabolism. The reason why slow twitch fibers have more mitochondria has everything to do with the fact that they rely heavily on aerobic metabolism. Their size alone, though, also plays a role. Since slow twitch fibers are larger in diameter, they can hold more mitochondria per cell than fast twitch fibers. Number 5, red muscle fibers are larger in diameter than white muscle fibers. As I mentioned earlier, slow twitch fibers have a much greater capacity for utilizing oxygen. This means that they can maintain higher levels of contractile activity without getting fatigued. A good example of this is during long-distance running. Our muscles don't use oxygen nearly as efficiently when we're sprinting. But when we're running long distances, our muscles become much more adapted to utilizing oxygen. Due to the increased reliance on aerobic metabolism, slow twitch muscle fibers increase in size as a result. Number 4, slow twitch muscle fibers have more extensive capillary networks around them than fast twitch muscle fibers. Now, capillaries are the smallest blood vessels in the body. They deliver oxygen and nutrients to muscle tissue, and they remove waste products such as carbon dioxide and lactic acid. The reason why slow twitch muscle fibers have a greater density of capillaries has everything to do with their increased ability to utilize oxygen. When we look at a picture of a muscle under a microscope and we see a bunch of red dots, those dots are capillaries. You can see how much more extensively developed the capillary network is around the slow-twitch muscle fiber. Number 3, red muscle fibers have a high concentration of triglycerides. Triglycerides are a form of fat used for energy. Slow-twitch muscle fibers store a large quantity of triglycerides within their cells. This allows them to tap into a large energy source during endurance activities. White muscle fibers, on the other hand, contain fewer triglycerides, and they rely mostly on carbohydrates for energy. Number 2, slow-twitch muscle fibers contract more than twice as fast as the white muscle fibers. I already mentioned this earlier in the video, but I want to mention it again because it's one of the most important differences between the two muscle fiber types. Slow-twitch muscle fibers can contract more than twice as fast as white muscle fibers, but as you might have guessed, it takes more time for them to relax. This is important to understand because it relates directly to the speed of movement of any exercise that we perform. For example, if we're performing a bicep curl, a weight that might feel very heavy and controlled coming down will feel much lighter and much faster going up. This is because the muscle is contracting very slowly on the way down, but relaxing much faster on the way up. The same is true for any exercise that we do. The eccentric portion of any movement will always be slower than the concentric portion. And finally, number 1, slow-twitch muscle fibers have a greater capacity to store glycogen. This is another adaptation related to the utilization of oxygen. Slow-twitch fibers have the ability to use oxygen more efficiently, which means they can sustain higher levels of contractile activity without getting fatigued. To accomplish this, they have a much greater capacity to store glycogen, which is the broken-down version of carbohydrates. Now, it's important to note that although we're born with the genetic makeup that determines the percentage of slow and fast-twitch muscle fibers that we have, we can influence that ratio to a certain degree through training. As I mentioned earlier in the video, someone who's training for a marathon will have a higher percentage of slow-twitch fibers than someone who's training for a powerlifting meet. However, we can change that. Someone who was a sprinter in college and then switched to long-distance running later in life will have a much higher percentage of slow-twitch fibers than someone who was a powerlifter in college and then stopped and became a couch potato afterwards. This is why it's important to continue training even after you've achieved your goals. What was the most surprising difference between red and white muscle fibers? Please let us know in the comments. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share our useful videos with everyone you know. It really helps support us, and it helps with the algorithm. It helps push more of our health and fitness videos out to more people so they can learn from it. And if you hit the bell, you'll be notified every time we upload a new video. But that about wraps it up. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.